Ahead of the crucial vote, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. During the conversation, Blinken stressed on the importance of a strong collective response against Russia amid this ongoing conflict. The call between the two leaders took place soon after a White House statement said Biden's administration will have consultations with India to deal with the Ukraine crisis. India so far had time-tested friendship with Russia, with Moscow being one of its closest ally in defense sectors. Having said that, India's strategic partnership with the US has also grown significantly in the last few decades, with Washington showing particular interest in the developments in Indo-Pacific and also the Quad grouping.
And Mr. Prime Minister, we're going to continue to build on our strong partnership.
आपका स्वागत है माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी। हम आपको काफी समय से जानते हैं और मुझे खुशी है कि आप वापस आज व्हाइट हाउस में आए हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे रिश्ते जो हैं आगे सुदृढ़ होते रहें।
When I showed the Prime Minister to his seat, I pointed out that seat is occupied almost every day by.
Joining us for an update is our principal diplomatic correspondent Sidhant Sibal, live in New Delhi. Sidhant Sibal, good to see you. What's the latest? We've seen that Prime Minister Modi has spoken to Zelinsky. What more information do we have on that?
Well, Eric, we are right now waiting for a readout by the Indian side because this confirmation has come from the president himself, the Ukrainian president, in a tweet, and which is interesting given the fact that just a few days ago the Indian Prime Minister and the Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke. In fact, both the leaders spoke on Thursday, and today is Saturday. So within like 2 days there has been this conversation. But essentially the Ukrainian side has been keen that there is some kind of political support by India, the United Nations Security Council. We saw what happened at the council where India abstained, while India has abstained, and this is something that was expected. But what was not expected was the statement by the Indian side. The Indian side, of course, in that statement talked about the territorial sovereignty of countries. That essentially means that this kind of invasion by Russia is something that has even miffed many countries in Asia. For example, China was a surprise because remember the Chinese side abstained as well. Russia was essentially left alone at the Security Council. So very important conversation between the two sides, and right now we are waiting for a readout by the Indian side.
Do we have more information from the Foreign Ministry in regards to the status of the students who are returning to India from Ukraine?
So we know visuals have arrived at how there are Indians who have crossed the border between Romania and Ukraine, and these students are being taken to the airport there, and from that airport they will be brought to Mumbai. So this flight that will land in Mumbai will land around 8 or 9 p.m. local time, Indian Standard Time, where the Indian Minister of Trade Piyush Goyal will also be present to greet them and welcome them. We also know that there has been a waiver given when it comes to the RT-PCR test when it comes to these students, because we know that when you have to enter India, or for that matter any foreign country, you need to take RT-PCR test. So a waiver has been given to these students. Another flight left from Delhi to Romania, and this flight is going to land tomorrow or past midnight. So that will bring more students. But essentially, this is a long drawn coordination effort, because we know that the problem is not bringing these students from countries like Romania or countries like Poland, but the problem is how to bring them from Ukraine to the border checkpost and from border checkpost to these countries. In fact, a short while ago, the Polish envoy here in Delhi spoke to WION exclusively, giving details how the Polish government is supporting this entire effort of evacuation of the Indian students.
Sidhant, maybe for a better understanding to our viewers, what is the impact of India, of countries like India and the UAE, abstention from the United Nations Security Council resolution?
Well, essentially, everyone knew that whether you vote against, whether you vote for, or whether you abstain, it would have not mattered, because Russia, being a permanent member of the Security Council, would have anyways vetoed it, and it did so. It vetoed the entire resolution, so the resolution could not be adopted. But what was the larger message was how many countries support Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty, and essentially by abstention or voting for, you are sending a signal, a political signal as to where you stand in the current crisis. And we saw that only one country, that is Russia itself, voted against. 3 countries, UAE, China and India, abstained. India was expected to abstain, but China and UAE, of course, a surprise. But China perhaps the biggest surprise, given China is a close ally of Russia. And while we know that the bond is not going to break so soon, and it will be a strong bond which will continue for a long time in every sphere, but the fact that China has abstained is a signal to Moscow that this is something that has essentially crossed the red line, and it will be difficult for any country, whatever political system you have, to support Vladimir Putin's attempt for launching this massive invasion of Ukraine, something that hasn't been seen since the end of World War II.
Live from New Delhi, thank you very much, Siddhant Sibal. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.